Breaking developments have rocked the Middle East in the past hours. Multiple Iranian ballistic missiles have struck deep into Israeli territory, setting ablaze 7 military airports in and around Tel Aviv. In what experts are calling an unprecedented escalation, 2 advanced Israeli fighter jets were confirmed destroyed on the ground. This sudden and calculated offensive marks one of the most severe direct attacks against Israel's air capabilities in recent history. Sirens echoed across central Israel as missile defense systems lit up the night sky, but some warheads slipped through, igniting fires and chaos across several bases. Authorities have declared a state of emergency as military units scramble to assess the full scale of the damage. The region now stands at a dangerous crossroads, and the next hours could determine whether this is a single strike or the start of a wider war. It began just after midnight. A stillness hung over Tel Aviv, broken only by the hum of distant traffic and the occasional patrol in the suburbs surrounding key military installations. Then, without warning, the night sky lit up in a burst of crimson and orange. A thunderous roar followed, deep, low, unnatural, shaking windows for miles. Eyewitnesses described the sound as a sky tearing apart. People awoke to the shriek of air raid sirens, their phones buzzing with emergency alerts. Moments later, the first wave of missiles made impact. Explosions erupted at precise intervals, one after another, in a pattern too controlled to be random. Fires quickly engulfed hangars, runways, and parked vehicles. Surveillance footage shows a bright flash as one of the Israeli jets burst into flames before it could even taxi. Chaos swept through the military complexes. Personnel scrambled to secure high-value assets, dragging munitions and vehicles out of danger. In nearby neighborhoods, terrified families huddled in shelters as the night echoed with sirens, the rattle of rapid response units, and the distant beat of helicopter blades cutting through smoke-heavy air. The horizon glowed with fire. Shadows danced against the walls of burning structures. Emergency vehicles surged in from all directions, weaving between barriers, their light swallowed in the orange haze. For the people of Tel Aviv, it was a night unlike any they had known, raw, violent, and unforgettable. The assault began at exactly 12:08 a.m., according to Israeli military tracking systems. The first alert was triggered when multiple high-velocity objects were detected entering Israeli airspace from the east. Within 90 seconds, Iron Dome and David's sling systems were activated across central Israel, but it was already too late for complete interception. At 12:10 a.m., the first missile struck the Nevatim Air Base, one of Israel's largest Air Force installations. Just 2 minutes later, simultaneous impacts were reported at Palmakim, Hatzor, and Tel Nof air bases, indicating a highly coordinated strike pattern. Each target was hit within a narrow 3-minute window, suggesting pre-programmed precision strikes launched nearly simultaneously. By 12:16 a.m., 2 more bases near civilian infrastructure, Estidov and Ramat David, were hit. These explosions triggered widespread blackouts in surrounding areas, further complicating evacuation efforts. At 12:19 a.m., the final and most devastating strike hit a classified forward operations base near the Tel Aviv coastline, destroying 2 fighter jets on standby and severely damaging the command center. All 7 air bases were hit within 11 minutes. At 12:25 a.m., the Israeli Air Force issued a full scramble order. Jets took off from secondary bases not affected by the strikes as intelligence and reconnaissance drones were launched to assess the damage. By then, fires were raging and emergency teams were battling collapsing hangars and unexploded ordnance. The entire attack lasted less than 20 minutes, but its effects could ripple for years. Initial analysis confirms that the attack was carried out using Iran's Fateh 110 and Zulfikar short to medium-range ballistic missiles, both known for their precision strike capabilities. The Fateh 110, with a range of up to 300 kilometers, is equipped with a high-explosive fragmentation warhead and guided by an advanced inertial navigation system, giving it a circular error probability, CP, of less than 10 meters. This explains the surgical accuracy of the strikes. More concerning was the deployment of Zulfikar missiles, which have a 700-kilometer range and carry heavier warheads. Intelligence sources suggest that modified variants with extended range and improved terminal guidance may have been used, possibly launched from hidden platforms near Iran's western frontier. The use of these missiles sends a clear message. Iran has the capacity to strike deep. Strike fast and strike precisely, even in areas heavily defended by some of the world's most advanced missile defense systems. The psychological and strategic impact of this choice cannot be overstated. It was not just an attack, it was a demonstration. Preliminary reports indicate that the missile strike caused extensive structural damage to at least 7 Israeli military air bases, 4 of which are considered critical to the country's aerial operations. Nevatim Air Base, a hub for Israel's F-35 fighter fleet, suffered major runway damage and the destruction of key hangars. Satellite images confirm at least 2 aircraft, likely F-15s, destroyed on the ground and several more damaged by secondary explosions. At Tel Aviv Air Base, fuel storage facilities were hit, resulting in raging fires that took over 5 hours to contain. Palmachim Air Base, home to experimental drones and missile defense systems, lost portions of its command and control infrastructure. In Hatzor, multiple barracks and communication towers collapsed, causing both strategic disruption and personnel casualties. Civilian casualties were limited due to the military nature of the targets, but at least 23 personnel, including pilots, engineers, and support staff, have been reported dead, with over 60 injured, many in critical condition. Emergency crews worked through the night amid debris and live ordnance, racing against time to save lives and prevent further explosions. This was not just a symbolic attack. It inflicted real damage on Israel's operational capacity, targeting its ability to launch counterstrikes, coordinate aerial missions, and defend its airspace in the critical hours following the assault. Within minutes of the first impact, Israel's military command initiated Operation Iron Shield, a nationwide emergency response protocol designed for full-scale aerial assault scenarios. The Iron Dome and David's Sling defense systems were already intercepting inbound missiles, but due to the speed and number of warheads, several penetrated the shield. By 12:25 a.m., the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, issued a full-scale air scramble order, deploying fighter jets from unaffected bases in the north and south. Reconnaissance drones were launched to assess damage, locate launch points, and monitor Iranian airspace. Cyber units were activated to counter potential digital intrusions, fearing the missile assault could be part of a broader hybrid warfare operation. Simultaneously, ground-to-air missile batteries were repositioned to cover weakened defense zones near Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Military convoys moved toward key infrastructure points, preparing for a possible second wave of attacks. At 1:10 a.m., Prime Minister and senior IDF officials convened in an underground war room to discuss retaliatory options. While no immediate counterstrike was confirmed publicly, defense officials stated that all options are on the table and that Israel is prepared for a prolonged multi-front conflict. Across the nation, military reserves were called up, emergency bunkers were reopened, and the national alert level was raised to its highest in over a decade. The international community reacted with urgency and alarm. Within hours, the White House issued a statement condemning the missile strikes, calling them a dangerous and unacceptable escalation, and affirming that the United States stands firmly with Israel. President Biden reportedly spoke with Israeli leadership, offering intelligence and logistical support, though stopping short of endorsing immediate retaliation. At the United Nations, the Security Council held an emergency session. The UN Secretary General called for maximum restraint on all sides and warned that the region was now one miscalculation away from all-out war. The Arab League released a divided response. While some member states condemned the violence and urged de-escalation, others remained silent, viewing the attack as a reaction to previous Israeli air campaigns in the region. Meanwhile, NATO expressed deep concern, emphasizing that the stability of the Middle East directly impacts global security. Major European capitals, including London, Berlin, and Paris, urged all parties to avoid further conflict, though diplomatic channels were already strained. Military analysts across the globe have weighed in on the significance of the strike. According to retired U.S. General Mark Ellison, this was not a symbolic message. It was a precise, premeditated military operation designed to test the limits of Israeli air defense and response coordination. Experts believe the attack marks a strategic turning point in Iran's doctrine. Traditionally reliant on proxies, Iran has now demonstrated a willingness to strike directly and with accuracy against fortified military targets. Dr. Layla Shadari, a regional security analyst, emphasized that the attack may have been carefully timed to exploit known vulnerabilities in Israel's surveillance patterns. suggesting the involvement of advanced satellite intelligence and potentially even cyber warfare. Others warn that the strike could serve as a catalyst for a broader regional conflict, drawing in players like Hezbollah, Syria, and even global powers through alliances and proxy responses. The consensus is clear. This was not an isolated event. It was a carefully calibrated blow, and the risk of escalation is now dangerously high. To understand the gravity of the current strike, one must look back at the long and bitter history between Iran and Israel, a rivalry shaped by ideology, regional influence, and military competition. Since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, Iran has openly declared its opposition to Israel's existence, referring to the state as the Zionist entity and supporting militant groups that share that stance. Over the decades, Iran has heavily funded and armed Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, both of which have launched repeated attacks against Israeli targets. In response, Israel has conducted hundreds of covert and overt operations aimed at curbing Iran's regional influence, especially its presence in Syria. Israeli warplanes have routinely bombed weapons convoys and Iranian military positions near the Golan Heights and in Damascus. The tension escalated further with Israel's alleged role in sabotaging Iran's nuclear infrastructure, including the Stuxnet cyber attack and a series of assassinations targeting Iranian nuclear scientists. While these hostilities have largely played out through proxies and shadow warfare, there have been moments of direct confrontation, airstrikes, naval incidents, and drone attacks. Yet never before has Iran openly and directly launched ballistic missiles into Israeli territory at this scale. This strike breaks a decades-long unwritten rule: keep the fight indirect. That rule is now shattered, and the region stands on the edge of a dangerous new phase. As news of the missile strike spread, social media exploded with a wave of shock, anger, and fear. Hashtags like Tel Aviv under attack, Iran strikes, and Israel under fire trended globally within hours. Videos captured by civilians showed fiery trails streaking across the night sky, while emergency sirens and explosions echoed in the background, quickly going viral and drawing millions of views. In Israel, citizens shared images of damage and personal accounts from shelters, expressing resilience and determination amid uncertainty. Meanwhile, forums and platforms buzzed with debates, some calling for strong military retaliation, others urging calm and diplomatic solutions. Internationally, reactions were polarized. Some users condemned Iran's aggression, while others viewed the strikes as retaliation against Israeli policies. Protests erupted in several cities across the Middle East and Europe, reflecting the complex and fractured global opinion. The digital battlefield now runs parallel to the physical conflict, shaping perceptions and amplifying tensions worldwide. Proof that modern warfare extends beyond missiles to information and influence. With the missile strikes marking a severe escalation, the critical question now is, what happens next? Analysts warn that this could either be a calculated message designed to deter further Israeli actions or the opening salvo in a broader regional conflict. Israel faces immense pressure to respond decisively. A measured counterattack might target Iranian military assets in Syria or Lebanon, but any large-scale offensive risks triggering a full-scale war involving Hezbollah and other allied militias. Such a conflict could quickly spiral beyond Israel's borders, destabilizing the entire Middle East. Diplomatic channels remain active behind the scenes, with the United Nations urging both sides to de-escalate and seek a ceasefire. However, previous peace efforts have repeatedly faltered amid deep-seated mistrust and unresolved grievances. Global powers, including the US, Russia, and China, watch closely. Their involvement, or lack thereof, could determine whether this crisis remains contained or escalates into a proxy war or direct confrontation. For civilians across the region, the uncertainty breeds fear. Whether through negotiations or warfare, the next days will be crucial in shaping the fragile future of Middle Eastern stability. The missile strikes against 7 Israeli military airports represent a profound shift in the ongoing Iran-Israel conflict. This bold and precise attack not only inflicted significant damage, but also shattered long-standing barriers against direct confrontation. The strategic and psychological impacts will resonate far beyond the immediate battlefield. Israel's response, international reactions, and the broader geopolitical fallout will shape a region's future for years to come. The risk of escalation into a full-scale war looms larger than ever, with millions of lives hanging in the balance. In this volatile moment, the world watches and waits, caught between hope for restraint and fear of devastating conflict. One fact remains clear: the Middle East is entering a new and dangerous chapter. If you found this analysis insightful, please like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think will happen next in this escalating conflict? Don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates and deep dives into global events shaping our world. Your engagement helps us bring you more timely and detailed reports. Stay informed, stay safe, and thank you for watching.